J.J. Pegues back at tight end for Auburn, but focus remains at defensive tackle. J.J. Pegues hinted at it in the spring, shortly after he made the move from tight end to defensive tackle. The versatile 6'3", 308-pound athlete didn't want to close the door on his prospects on the offensive side of the ball, even though he made the switch to the defensive side earlier this year. He said, at the time, that he wanted to prove he could play defensive tackle and tight end, and in each of Auburn's first 2 set games this fall, he has done just that. Pegues has seen time on both offense and defense, as well as on special teams, each of the last 2 weeks against LSU and Georgia. That included a start in the backfield against the Bulldogs, when the Tigers opened the game with a 3 tight end personnel grouping. We utilize him. Auburn coach Brian Harsin said, J.J.'s a good player, and you want to try to get the best players on the field. So, has doing quite a bit, playing D-line, playing on special teams, doing a little offense. I would imagine that will continue. Saturday's game against Georgia was Pegues' second career start on offense, with the other coming last season against Arkansas. The former 4-star prospect out of Oxford, Miss, hasn't played a substantial role on offense thus far this year, but he was used in jumbo packages during the team's win at LSU 2 weeks ago and then again to open the game against Georgia, when Auburn methodically moved the ball downfield on its opening drive in its eventual 34-10 loss. His football intelligence is very high, Harsin said. He understands the game, and that's what allows us to be able to do multiple things with him. Pegues was a fan favorite as a true freshman tight end last season, when he had 7 receptions for 57 yards and served as a Wildcat quarterback, with 5 carries for 14 yards and a completion on his only pass attempt of the season. He wowed with his athleticism at his size, making highlight reels with a spin move and even a hurdle against Ole Miss. J.J. Pegues is unlike anything you've seen before. J.J. Pegues has a lineman's size to go with the athleticism of a receiver and the versatility of a modern running back. Pegues' focus, though, has mostly remained on developing as a defensive tackle since making the switch to that side of the ball in early April. He made the move to provide the Tigers with some additional depth at the position following Jeremiah Wright's ACL tear in the spring, and his ascension at the position was relatively quick. He opened the season as the Tigers' number 2 at nose tackle on the official depth chart behind UAB grad transfer Tony Fair. Midway through his first season at defensive tackle, Pegues has 6 tackles. 2 of those came last weekend against Georgia. Still feel like he's really developing himself into a D lineman, and a really good D lineman that Coach Eason has done a good job with, Harsin said. He's getting better up front, so we'll get a chance to see that. There's little sprinkles here and there of him on the offensive side, and then what he's doing on special teams. While Pegues has a promising future on the defensive side, and his potential as an NFL prospect remains highest as a tackle, Auburn will continue to take advantage of his versatility and ability to contribute in all 3 phases of the game, though there has yet to be a return of the fan-favorite Wildcat package with Pegues as the triggerman. I don't know how much, as we move forward, his role is going to play on the offensive side, Harsin said. But a guy who's done it, that's one thing. So, there's video evidence of him. We'll see on this game plan. It's a little bit week to week how we utilize him, but the one thing I would say is you've got to give him credit because he's able to do all those things in all 3 phases and contribute and be a guy that could start for us in all 3 phases, which is a credit to him, his ability, and then just how he prepares himself. Tom Green is an Auburn beat reporter for Alabama Media Group. Follow him on Twitter at Thomas_Verde. Alabama's Christian Harris leaving early for NFL draft. Alabama inside linebacker Christian Harris became the school's 6th underclassman to declare for the NFL draft. Harris announced his decision Monday, which was the NFL's deadline for underclassmen to enter the draft. After carefully weighing my options with my family, I know I am ready to accomplish my next goal, he wrote in an Instagram post. More in Alabama sports. Alabama linebacker recognized as freshman All-American. Alabama falls out of basketball polls for first time in a year. Yolil Billingsley transferring to Big 12 school. Harris' departure means Alabama will lose 3 defensive starters from last season's team, with senior defensive lineman Fedarian Mathis and redshirt junior cornerback Jalen Armour-Davis also turning professional. Outside linebacker Christopher Allen, who started the first game of the season before being injured, is also entering the draft. However, Alabama will have several defensive starters returning after juniors Henry Tutu, DJ Dale, DeMarco Helms, Jordan Battle and Byron Young all announced they would stay in school. Harris was a preseason All-Sec first-team pick but was not recognized on the first or second All-Conference teams in the postseason. Harris had 4 tackles for a loss, 3 sacks and a forced fumble in his final game, Alabama's national championship game loss last week to Georgia. The top candidate to start alongside Tutu next season could be Deontay Lawson, who was listed on the 2-deep depth chart last season as a freshmen. Two other Alabama inside linebackers, Jalen Moody and Shane Lee, entered the NCAA transfer portal last week. Ian Jackson, Demar Kennedy, Kendrick Blackshaw, and incoming freshman Sean Murphy are the other options at the position. Seniors entering NFL draft, RB Brian Robinson, DL Fedarian Mathis, OLB Christopher Allen, CB Josh Jobe, OL Chris Owens. Juniors entering NFL draft, OT Evan Neal, WR Jameson Williams, WR John Metcher, WR Slade Bolden, CB Jalen Armour Davis, ILB Christian Harris. Players not entering NFL draft, returning in 2022, ILB Henry Tutu, DL DJ Dale, S DeMarco Helms, S Jordan Battle, DL Byron Young, OL Amilikia. Scholarship players entering transfer portal, QB Paul Tyson, WR Javon Baker, TEOL Billingsley, OL Tommy Brown, ILB Jalen Moody, ILB Shane Lee, OLB Drew Sanders, OLB King Wakuda. Mike Rodak is an Alabama beat reporter for Alabama Media Group. Follow him on Twitter at Mike Rodak. Auburn expects to hire Jimmy Blumbo as DL coach. According to several reports, Auburn alum Jimmy Blumbo is returning to the Plains as a defensive line coach. Blumbo is filling a position left open after Nick Eason took a similar job at his alma mater Clemson. Eason coached one season on Brian Harson's staff. Blumbo spent the 2021 season as a defensive analyst at Oregon. Before working with Mario Cristobal, Blumbo was the co-defensive coordinator and defensive line coach at Tennessee under Jeremy Pruitt. Blumbo has also worked as a defensive line coach at Colorado, Maryland, and Kentucky, among other schools. As a player, Blumbo started 44 of his 48 career games, recording 291 tackles and 15 sacks from 1995-99 as a nose and outside tackle. Auburn interviewed several candidates, including alum Jess Simpson and Arizona Cardinals defensive line coach Brent Sunbuckner. Story to be updated. Newbridges Wilburn covers Auburn for Alabama Media Group.